Hey everyone, this is Melissa, and I'm the talkative introvert. Welcome to the podcast. I am joined today by Filimon Meaza, the host of the Brief Dive podcast, a podcast about teen mental health. So, Filimon, do you want to introduce yourself and let the audience know a little bit about yourself?
First off, thank you so much for having me. My name is Filimon Meaza, and I have a podcast of my own called The Brief Dive, and it's about a teen who is me, and I'm spreading teen mental health awareness to parents of teens or other teens to just learn more about the adolescent mind and to just teach them more about self-help because of how important it is.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for joining me, and thanks for that little information about your podcast. So I wanted to ask you before we get into more about teen mental health. Do you consider yourself an introvert, extrovert, or a little bit in the middle, an ambivert?
I am in the middle. There are days where I feel socially drained. Just the other day, there was an event. It was like an alumni event. And I never thought I'd be, that extroverted when I went. But the second I went, I code switched and I started talking to a lot of people. But I think I can feel like both. I feed off of other people's energy, yet I can get really tired when I'm around them.
Okay, so somewhere in the middle. Okay, cool. I just wanted to ask that. I try to ask everybody, because the podcast is surrounded by introversion, but everyone's on a spectrum. So some people are more introverted, some people are more extroverted. So back to your podcast. So you're doing teen mental health. So what got you interested in that?
Well, first, I've been through some experience of mental health, what you call mental health, and it wasn't easy. What would have really helped is to have someone there for you and someone there to provide advice that was really quick and just have an open ear. Not that I didn't have that, but I believe that we all need that from time to time. And I felt like I needed to step in that role with the Brief Dive. And yeah.
So is your podcast mostly advice? Like what kind of advice, I guess?
Well, lately it's been changing. I've been diving into more philosophical questions, but solely it's around basic advice from self-love to respect to assertiveness, the power of positivity. I talked about law of attraction and all these sorts of things that teens might go through in small interactions and experiences and conversations. And it's just little things that they need that could help them step far, if that makes sense.
And so is this something... Oh, first of all, are you still in high school or did you graduate?
Yeah, currently I am finishing junior year. I'm in high school.
Okay. So all the stuff that you're talking about, is this something you learned in school or is it something you had to go out and research yourself?
It was a blend of taking a lot of silent walks and asking myself a lot of deep questions. There was a lot of YouTube involved, a lot of reading books. And firstly, it was about to help myself. And then I realized that there's so much in this book, or there's so much in this video, and there's so much in these thoughts that need to be shared to more people. And it was just very valuable information. And I feel like just even the fundamentals of it should be taught to elementary schools. And I believe that since when you're younger, your brain is kind of like a sponge, so it'd
Mm-hmm.
be really easy to learn this kind of stuff when you're 8, rather than having to ask yourself these questions at age 56.
Yeah, I agree. So I haven't been in high school for a while. Um, I think I graduated 2010, so it's been like 12 years. And when I was in high school, I didn't learn about mental health. They didn't talk about it. There wasn't like a class for it. We talked about like physical health, like sex ed, but even that was very limited. It was literally a quarter of a semester, so it wasn't even a whole semester. And so you were saying it's like a combination of you researching, but also school. So I'm curious, like how high school is now. Like, what do they talk about as far as it, mental health?
As far as now, I think there was a time where it wasn't toxic positivity, but it was a lot of stay positive. That's going to help you. Stay positive. This is going to
Mm-hmm.
help you. And then it moved on to more of it's okay not to be okay. I'm sure you've heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, lately now I think there's more clubs. There's a club in my high school about mental health and just basically spreading awareness. I don't know if it's really about teaching you how to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there can be like some articles they put on the newsletter that they post, but
Okay.
I don't think we really get into depth of that nowadays.
Okay, so it's still kind of the same. There's no
Yeah, but
like
I think
class
it,
about
it
it.
might be a little better than before.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially during like these times and like what's happening in the news,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they're going to step it up in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that in these 12 years since I've been in high school, that maybe there's a class or maybe they'd be more open to talking about that stuff. But um, at least they're acknowledging it, and there's class or clubs about it. I don't think we even had a club that touched on mental health at all.
I
So
think
that's pretty
once
cool.
COVID hit, like when everyone went virtual, that's when they're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh shoot, like this is serious. Like these kids' minds, like who knows?" And once we came back, it was weird too because teachers started talking to students like they were like people, not like they were students. Like
Yeah.
they gave us a little too much respect, if that makes sense. And it was weird at first, but I realized that they were they realized that like we're just kids and we went through a whole pandemic, and they probably feel bad. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I get that. But what do you mean, like too much respect? Like, how did they treat you?
um, like we went through an event that we were strong enough to go through, and we
Mm-hmm.
pushed through, and it could have gone the other way. And there was just a lot of kids that were on their phones, and I'm sure you know how social media can work sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm also sure that like quarantine, there was a moment in time where it did not do you good, and it did not do anyone good. And
Mm-hmm.
I bet the teachers were just like, I don't know how I can feel about this. I can't imagine how a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, or a 16-year-old can go through sitting by themselves at an age where they need to be around other people.
Yeah, I remember talking to my friend about how when I was younger, I don't want to say like I lived a tragic childhood or anything like that, but there were times where school was an escape for me, escape from like family and family drama. So I can only imagine, kids not having that escape anymore, and teenagers, not having that escape and like safe place to go to if something at home was happening. And so I'm sure that's really impacted a lot of kids during the lockdowns.
Yeah, it definitely has. And one thing I do have to say though is I'm gonna have to bring up what you said earlier about how like the schools have changed compared to before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think, and I've said this on someone else's podcast, I believe that old relationships in old schools, like back then, are
Mm-hmm.
stronger than they are currently.
Oh,
And
really?
I think that's probably because of social media. Like, here's the thing: if you go home, like speaking, like if you're like a long time ago, if you go home,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing
Thanks.
you do is no, no. But if you go home, the first thing you do is not you're not really going to go text that person. You're not going to call that person. You're just going to go do your own thing, and that's kind of going to make you, it's going to want to make you miss that person even more, and then go
Mm-hmm.
back and have something to talk about, and then have the whole thing going over again. But now there's just a lot of overstimulating factors in the world. You go home and then you call each other and text each other, and you're always with that person, and
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of grow sick of that person, and there's less authenticity in the conversations, and we're so used to just going straight on our phones whenever we feel like we are losing attention, whenever
Mm-hmm.
we feel bored, whenever we feel socially anxious, and it's kind of like our little coping machine. And I feel like back then when we I keep saying back then, I feel like a long
That's
time
okay.
ago when there wasn't like many phones, or when there wasn't even like Snap, um,
Mm-hmm.
you would sit with someone and talk to them eye to eye, and sit with those awkward moments and just take it all in, if that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. Like, I think I was talking to my husband about how, or not my husband. Oh, my friend works at the school district, and she had to go to one of the schools. I think I can't remember. Um, but she was like, "Yeah, all the kids during break and during lunch are just on their phones." And I remember when I was in high school, if you got caught with your cell phone, the teacher would take it away. Like there's a app, like a no cell phone use policy, but then now like kids are just on their phones. Like it's normal to have it out. Like teachers, I had a teacher who was a little crazy, and he took a kid's cell phone and like nailed it to the wall.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because he was just so mad because like he told this kid over and over again, like, don't use your cell phone. You know the cell phone policy. And he didn't listen, so he nailed it. Obviously, that's a little too much because like the parents paid for the phone, not the kid. So that was a little extreme. But yeah, we had a no cell phone use policy, and I remember like people used to sneak it under their desk or what have you. So I think it's kind of crazy that now kids can just be on their phone whenever they want to. And I do agree that the connections aren't as strong because like I was having this conversation too with my sister-in-law how everyone kind of posts their life on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. Like you have your stories, and you know what everyone's doing all the time, especially people who post all the time. So you know when they went to an event or went to a vacation, what they did there. And so by the time you actually sit down and talk to that person, there's nothing really new to talk about because you already saw everything. So it's, yeah, I guess we lose that connection because there's not really much to talk about, I guess. I don't know. I don't really use social media that much. Like I don't really post anything anymore. I used to be on it. I used to post like things I'm eating or whatever I can think of. Um, but I've noticed like, I have like actual things to share and talk about when I sit with somebody when I'm not always posting about my life.
I try not to post too much. Only thing I post is probably about the brief dive. But yeah, you're totally right. There was a moment in time. Well, as a teen, the first thing you want to do is just share to everyone how cool you are, and basically
Mm-hmm.
get up that cool ladder. But I'm sure as you get older, that kind of fades away. It's just seeing everyone else's best and seeing everyone else's like perfect moments and good vacations, and that's all you see, and you don't see the stuff behind it, like the paycheck, and like how much that thing cost, and like the road trip there, and all their bad moments, and it makes you assume life is supposed to be that way, only good moments, and it leads to this toxic comparing of, wow, my life is not like that. My life needs to be that good. And that's why it's really good to detach yourself from moments from social media. It's good to put, like, if you got a wedding, post that, that, yeah, post it. But there are moments where you're gonna get jealous. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think I read an article about how depression and like body dysmorphia and those kinds of mental health issues are at an all-time high, or like they're rising with teenagers because of social media, because of filters, and because of like on your like explore page, or your what are they called, for you page or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's always like beautiful, or society's like ideal beauty standards, and it's like this constant like comparing yourself to them and wanting their life and wanting to look like them. So yeah, I can see how like teens now are suffering a little bit. Like, obviously body dysmorphia and all this stuff has always been an issue, but I can see it being so much bigger now because of social media. So do you said you don't really use social media, but do you,
Lately, I have now. I've fallen back in the trap.
oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
So do you recommend teens to not have it, or like do you think like teens should like not have it at all, or they should like limit their times, or like what's your opinion on social media use?
I found that I use it to distract myself from everything else in the world, from how I'm feeling to what I'm supposed to be doing. And in a way, distractions are good for you. It's good to detach from, what you're supposed to be doing and just chill for a moment. But the minute it gets in the way of your schedule, that's when it becomes an issue. Um, Obviously, we all hear the don't start your day with social media, don't end it with social media. I think that's really, really true. Um, but I think as long as you have something to do in the daytime or something else, and like it's not really distracting your schedule, you can be on it. And as long as you're not taking things personally when you see them, and yeah, just try not to compare yourself, or try not to. It's a very overstimulating thing we see, especially on like TikTok. It's just so much information that like our brains aren't capable of handling all of that, and it's overstimulating. So I think it's really good to definitely at least have like 2 hours a day off of any technology, TV, phone, laptop, even headphones. Like just get them out your ear. Them little AirPods, dude. Sometimes I see everyone wearing those. It's pretty annoying. Just take them out, go outside, get in tune with yourself, take a walk. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, guys, take a walk. No headphones, no music, and go get some. I feel like the opposite of social media and getting on your phone is going outside. I feel like that's my way of cleansing what I just saw, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think maybe just, I don't really want to put a number to it, but as long as you're not doing it when you wake up, as long as you're not doing it right when you're going to go to bed, and as long as it's not hurting your schedule, and as long as you're not distracting yourself from emotions that you should be feeling.
So just being self-aware
Yeah.
of your usage, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I had a brain fart. I had something.
I have those too, no worries.
Oh, right. Okay. So I was going to ask you, so teen mental health obviously is a big part of your podcast, and it's what you talk about. And I'm curious, like, you're pretty young, and I definitely am not who I was at 17. That's for sure. Like, I am a completely different person from when I was in high school. But do you see yourself as going into the field, like becoming, a therapist or a counselor or a psychiatrist or anything like that?
I get asked that a lot. um, I'm not one to say things out loud, but
Mm-hmm.
I do like seeing myself in that particular field. I don't want to close my options though. I know what type of role I want to play, like sort of like a leadership role, a counseling, guiding, coaching, teaching sort of position. But the area or major, whatever, I don't want to close my options. But psychology, philosophy, maybe that direction.
Yeah, and like, I know you also talked about how you're kind of broadening your subjects on your podcast too. Like, you're talking about philosophical stuff. So what are some topics you like talking about? Like, what do you want to move towards, other than mental health?
I do, yeah, in a weird way, I enjoy talking about like relationships.
Okay.
Um, Yet I'm single.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy talking about like purpose, meaning behind meanings, and why people make the decisions they make.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with relationships, like, what's fascinating about it? Like, why do you want to talk about it?
Um, Funny you say that. There's this big dilemma, not dilemma. There's this big, should I love myself before I hop into a relationship? And that's
Mm.
where this big dispute hops in. And that's where I also hop in and try to make level of the situation. And I enjoy it.
Okay. So you think you should work on yourself first before diving into a relationship?
I believe you should have some level of like self-respect, some
Mm-hmm.
level of self-appreciation, some level of self-awareness. You don't have to be some guru who loves himself 100% before they jump into a relationship, because even I know some people that started loving themselves even more once they got into a relationship. So I think everyone's different, but
Mm-hmm.
overall, I think you should have some level of self respect so you don't really jump into the relationship assuming that this person is in control of how you're feeling. And that kind of gives them a little too much power, and it does not lead the relationship into a right path.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, yeah, everyone's relationship is unique and different, and yeah, there's not like a set of, how do I say this? There's not like a perfect formula. Like,
Yeah,
I've known people who were together for like 6 years, got married, then got divorced. But then people who got married after 6 months are like super happy and in a great relationship, and they're like super in love. And
yeah,
like,
it's hard to
people,
describe the feeling.
yeah, I think it's like those when kind of
Yeah,
situations. Okay, so you're moving towards more of like kind of just opinionated, I guess, kind of topics.
I'm very scared of moving towards. Yeah, you're right. I know being my most authentic self
Mm-hmm.
would help me go a long way with the podcast. It'll just feel more natural. Yet a little bit of me is probably not ready for that criticism. Um,
Oh, okay.
I'm only 17.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
I get that.
but that's why I was sticking with, like factual advice. And
Mm-hmm.
no one's in the wrong here. It's just advice. If you're mad at the advice, then you're mad at everyone else, not me. But I think, yeah, moving towards opinionated subjects, which is scary, but I think it's best for me.
I think it's more fun. Like I was in the same boat. I started off with more factual things. Like I used to read off um, things I read on, like searched on Google or scientific articles and journals and stuff, and it was very like factual, and they were interesting. Like some people thought they were interesting, but it wasn't that fun, you know? And so I did start kind of venturing off doing more like opinionated stuff. Sorry, let me drink some water. I also had COVID, so
Oh, really?
like a couple weeks ago or
How was that?
a week and a half ago. It's not that bad. I think I just got I got really lucky with like the not so bad strain, you know?
Oh, the type of like the good variant sort of thing.
Because they're saying like this new one, whatever Delta or Omicron or whatever it is nowadays, it's like highly contagious, but not that bad versus like the OG COVID.
I feel like COVID's not really ever gonna leave. I think it's gonna be like an everyday flu in the future.
I was thinking the same thing. Like it's gonna be around, and at some point, probably everyone's probably gonna end up getting it because it's just
Yeah,
we're just so populated, and unless you like live out in the boonies or like some like way out like in farmland or something. But I live in California and there's just people everywhere, so it was
yeah,
inevitable.
yeah, yeah.
Anyways, sorry. So my voice is very scratchy and raspy. That's like that's a something I haven't gotten over yet. And then I also, what is it? Like I can't smell that well. I can't smell things.
My smell is always trash, so I can't really tell the difference.
Oh.
But my throat is also kind of weird. But I think it takes just a couple more weeks for the side
Mm.
effects. I take personally what helps me is I don't know if I'm supposed to say a brand. I'll tell you later. I'll tell you after the recording.
Okay.
But
Yeah, you can tell me later. No worries. Okay, so what were we talking about? Oh, opinionated episodes. Yeah, I think you should do it. um,
yeah, I should. I should. You're right.
yeah, just do it because you're not going to please everybody. It's impossible. That's why I will never want to be a politician because you just can't. You can't please everybody. Everyone has different cultures, different political backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, and so if you're going to be always worried about that, then you'll essentially not have any content.
You're completely right. I remember listening to a podcast. I think it was Emma Chamberlain, and she was going on for like an hour. I think it was about depression, and I heard it. And this girl can be very passionate about a topic and a subject, and I really admire it. And it got me thinking. I was just like, wow. And I script my episodes, and I try not to sound like a robot. Hopefully, I don't. But because I just don't like having pauses and ums. But that just made me. She was very like opinionated on it, and I loved it. So that was just like, wow, I need to stop sounding so neutral and start jumping towards sides and picking both, maybe picking one, and not being very controversial. And you know, I'm sure we have some people in mind, but um, but yeah, that kind of motivated me to jump towards the opinion side.
Yeah, like I did the same thing. Basically my first season was all scripted because I had the same thing. Like I didn't want to say ums and likes and your vocal fillers. But what I noticed is that with the scripted ones, I always messed up. Like I messed up over and over again. But the opinion ones, because a lot of my opinion ones also I'm talking to somebody too, like what we're doing now. But it's more like free flowing. I'm more authentic. I'm more myself. I'm more relaxed. And it sounds like me genuinely rather than like reading off a script. Because as even if you try really hard to be casual, I think you could just tell, unless you're like a really great actor, which I don't know if you are, um, then yeah, you could kind of tell when someone's reading off a script. But it's up to you. Uh, what would be an opinion one that's not like too controversial that you'd be comfortable talking about?
Ooh, okay. Dip my toes in the water.
Yeah, trial run.
Um, ooh, yeah, off the blue. I'm not sure. Um,
Is there something you feel strongly about that's not like politics, I guess, and religion?
um, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say how relationship norms. I'm gonna say that. Is that too much?
Relationship norms? Like what do you mean? Like the basic you get married, have kids? Or what do you
Like,
mean?
um, like the man has to pay sort of thing. I believe that, yeah, the man has to pay first
Mm-hmm.
couple of dates, but I feel like once you get comfortable, you kind of basically share everything. You share a life, you share a relationship, and you kind of share that same income. And you guys don't really count how much you both pay over time. That wouldn't really even be a question to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Because if she pays, you basically pay. And if you pay, she basically pays. And but at first, when you don't know the person, it's kind of a big step. But yeah, I think it's common courtesy for the man to pay. So I believe that should be the way. But unless she's like a rich millionaire, then heck yeah, I'm not paying for that date. But um, yeah, whoever chose to have that date, yeah, you're gonna pay. But for a man to quote unquote, I'm doing the quote hands right now. I'm not sure if you see me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Gentlemen, uh, that's like the way you gotta go, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sticking
Okay. I
with
see what you're saying.
that.
Yeah, we don't have to like go deep into if you're not comfortable yet. But I think that's a great episode. I think, yeah, like there's a lot of relationship norms that are kind of obsolete now, especially like this move towards like equality and like the feminism movement. Like for me, I agree that like whoever is the one that asked you on the date should pay. I don't think it should matter like gender wise, unless like the guy that's just like like he just wants to. Then like of course, like go ahead. Like I'm not gonna say no to that. Um, but if you're trying to figure out who should pay, then I think it should be the person who asked you on the date,
Yeah,
which a lot of times
agree.
probably would be the guy.
Yeah, and that leads me to my next question. I think girls should make the first move. I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm playing. That was
I
not
mean,
me,
they
guys.
totally could. They totally could. I think that's a great one. I think that's a good first one if you ever decide to go down that path.
I think if I had a podcast with like a table full of people and we were
Mm-hmm.
all just talking, maybe I can jump into opinion. Because imagine just seven people talking about something and no one's really opinionated on one thing. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of people talking on something neutral. That's a very, very boring episode. So
Yeah.
I think I'd like to be opinionated if I was with someone else. That's why I feel pretty comfortable right now talking to you.
Oh, good. I'm a very opinionated person. And I've definitely used my podcast to showcase that. But if you ever do that episode, like I have a lot of opinions on relationships and how they should go. So I'm like open to talk about that stuff too. So, you know, I'm here.
What type do you have? Like, what type of opinions?
What type of opinions? So I'm married and I do have a lot of opinions on how a marriage, I don't want to say should be, because that's, I don't think any marriage should be, anything. There's no set rules, but I think there are ways to make the marriage better or work better. A good one, I guess, is not having a shared account. So we do have a shared account, but it's only for shared bills like our mortgage, some what's it called? Utilities, stuff like that. But I think money should be kept separate because money is the number one thing that leads to divorce. And so if you separate your money, then whatever you work for, you can use for whatever you want to use it for because it's your hard earned money. If you want to go buy, a really nice car, as long as it doesn't impact our joint bills, you could do what you want with your money. Like, I can't tell you what to do. Like, I think it's kind of crazy that you see in like TV shows or videos, like the wife is always hiding an expensive, like purse or whatever from her husband. Like, she doesn't want him to know because he'll get really mad. But for me, like I'm a pretty independent person, and I don't like when people tell me I can't do something or I'm not allowed to buy something, especially if I worked hard for that money. So that one's I'm like really opinionated about because I'm not a big proponent on having a joint account where you both literally put all your income into one account.
I'm with that. I'm actually with that.
Yeah, because money is no one likes talking about it. No one likes to discuss it. And like, no one really likes budgeting or, like it's just such a sticky subject. But if you just separate it, you have your own. Obviously, it doesn't work for everybody because I know there are like stay at home moms and dads and whatever. So I don't know how to deal with that. But I don't know how common that is nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah. You said it well. I don't really know what to say. You said it well.
Yeah, just keep that in mind when you get older, and if that's something you're into. Like, well, that's a good question. Like, are you? I know some people don't believe in getting married. I was kind of that person for a long time. I mean, now I'm married, but clearly it changed. Do you have like strong opinions about marriage too?
Um, I mean, here's one thing. I think that it can be very hard to. I mean, unless you really love this person, then yeah, get married. But there are some people that struggle to stick with the same person every single day. And I'm not saying you should go cheat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of
But
course.
um, I'm saying that you should think twice before a marriage, and not to scare people, but to know that it's like you got to love them at their worst and you got to love them at their best. It's just a very big commitment. But strong opinions about marriage, to be honest, not really, actually.
That's
Yeah.
okay. So, but that kind of does tie into societal norms. So I recently just did a podcast episode with my friend. We both don't want children. And I was talking about like my dad is a great example of someone who probably shouldn't have had a child. Because it's just not that because he's necessarily a bad person, but because not everyone's meant to be a parent. And I think there's a lot of parents out there who became parents because that's the expectation. And so I think that's a great actually subject if you haven't talked about on your podcast, but you know, the pressure on teenagers to fulfill these societal norms. Like after high school, you're expected to go straight to college. Then college, you get, you start your career. Then you find a partner, you get married, and then you have kids. Like it's a lot of pressure on a kid. Um, because from my experience, like, I know a lot of successful people. I mean, I guess successful is like objective, right? But I know a lot of people who make a lot of money without having to go to college. But like that's what the expectation is. And so, is that something that you want to talk about or have talked about on your podcast?
I would love to talk about that. I don't think I've talked about that on my podcast. No. The marriage one, now that I realize it, yeah. I do feel that pressure. Like
Mm-hmm.
I need to get into a relationship and I need to get married by this age and then have kids by this age. So when the kids are this age, I'm this age, yada,
Yeah.
yada, yada. And
Yeah.
it's, I'm 17. What the heck am I talking about? But
Yeah.
for college wise, yeah, there's just a lot of norms. Like people are just saying, college equals success, hard work equals success. Yet, I don't want to bash college in case some random 5-star college is looking at this, but I mean, I don't care. You pay to make a lot of money, and the more you pay, the higher salary you get. And it's kind of just like you're making kind of this, not the same amount of money, but you're making a little more, and let alone taxes and everything. Not saying education is bad for you. You will learn a lot in college. There is a lot of great experiences you can learn in college, other than like the school part. There's a lot of friendships, experiences that you should go out, stay protected, kids. And you guys, like, I think, yeah, there's a lot of, oh, one thing that was a big one lately this year, it was knowing what you want to do when you're older. And
Oh.
we
Mm-hmm.
assume that once we know what we're going to do, then we can have these clear steps until then. And then we can know what classes we're going to take, major we're going to take. Are we going to get a bachelor's, a master's? And then some kids don't even know what they're going to do mid-college. So it comes with just experiencing. And
Mm-hmm.
experiencing is sort of, there's only so much you can do with planning and so much you can do with introspecting and just
Mm-hmm.
thinking. You got to put yourself out there whether you like it or not. And you got to know what you don't like to know what you do like. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't dip your toes in the water, you never will, if that makes sense. And yeah, it's this big norm about college and success because, like what you said, you have a friend of yours that will what you see as makes a lot of money and had like seems like they can take good care of themselves financially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they didn't go to college, so now we're just like, oh shoot, now what? This random YouTuber said he didn't go to college. He's successful, and I'm in
Mm-hmm.
college with a lot of debt. So I think it just depends on what you want to major in. I think what's most important though is passion over money. I think find what you love. Don't do something just because it makes a lot of money because you're not going to stick with it in a long time. A friend of mine, he's a teacher. He
Mm-hmm.
said that he was an accountant for 10 years, I think, made a lot
Mm-hmm.
of money, and he did not like the job. Very repetitive. I think it was like an office job. I'm not sure, but it was very boring. But he made a lot of money, and took him 10 years to realize that it's not the job for him. So he's moving towards like the teaching side, and obviously we all know like the teaching side isn't really as much. They deserve more money, teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and for him to move towards passion, and how do you say this? He's from like an Ethiopian descent. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sort of like Ethiopian cultured. In some cultures, how like parents can be about why are you making this decision? You're making a lot of money. And why would you make this dumb decision on doing something you love? What is doing something you love? And I think that's because the way our parents were raised was to work to make money to survive, or work to make money to, eat food. And the more resources are available, the different things we need. And what we need is to find passion. And I feel like that's why my parents, or your parents, or your friends' parents are, they probably think that purpose or love for a job is, I'm not going to say what your parents say, but um, yeah, I'm sure you know what I mean.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. Yeah, I understand because I'm a first generation Filipino American. So my parents, migrated here from the Philippines. And if you know anything about the Philippines, it's a third world country. And so, yeah, it is a lot of like working hard and making money to support your family because, you come here with nothing. And my parents were not rich by any means. So they did have to like support us. And so there is that mindset like you need to go to college so that you can get a good job so that you can support yourself so you don't suffer like we did. But I think that we're just very, I mean, I don't know your background, but like us first gen or like second gen American kids or whatever, we're just very fortunate that, we don't really have to struggle as badly as our parents did, especially if our parents did really well in like supporting us. And obviously, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but my situation, yeah, we didn't grow up with a lot of money, but I was given like the tools and the fact that I live in America, like I do have more than if we were to live in the Philippines. And because we don't live in third world country, don't suffer the same way as they do, and we have like more opportunities than they do, and so I don't have to like how do I say this nicely? Like I don't have to put such a huge emphasis on like getting an education and stuff. But not saying that you shouldn't. I think I'm making this sound totally bad. What I'm trying to get at is like I personally don't believe like everyone like college is made for everybody. Like some people just don't do well in school. And then there's also stigma towards like trade schools, but like trade schools are completely fine. You can really have a great career going through a trade school. And I do like feel bad for teenagers now who are like juniors and seniors trying to figure out their life because at that age you don't know what you want to be. Like I went in with like I think with a math major, but then graduated with family studies and then now I work in IT. So I I'm not even in the career that I got my degree in. And during college like I changed my major a bunch of times. And so there is like a lot of I don't know. I think like I wish that in high school they taught teens that high school or college is not the only way to live, you know?
Yeah.
And in America, like we're very fortunate to have jobs. Like for example, like you can go work at McDonald's or Target or Walmart with no with little to no experience, and you can move up from there. Like you can work your way up. Not saying like third world countries aren't like that. I don't know enough about third world countries, but I'm sure it's not as easy for them, right?
Yeah. There's like different values and different things that
Mm-hmm.
are put on the pedestal. And when
Yeah,
you set foot in America, or when you set foot in the US, um, and set foot 10 years forward, or 20 years forward, things change. A lot of things change and different things are needed. Um, I think that conflict between, not like Gen Z, but the conflict between parent and child is going on now with the norms and what should be put on the pedestal. And I think that's what's going on right now. Maybe. I'm not sure.
I'm hoping like, okay, so if I'm 30, my kids are probably like in elementary school if I had any. I would hope that like millennial parents, because I feel like a lot of millennials did have to deal with that pressure, like go to college, get a lot of money, start your family. I'm hoping like with our generation, like we recognize that. I think our generation has like recognized mental health because that was something that just got brushed under the rug. Um, but a lot of us are acknowledging it, accepting it. I think we're more open to the different types of people and different lifestyles. And I hope, like with millennials and younger, like Gen Z, that we are recognizing that some of these societal norms is just, it's not working out for like the new generation. Like it makes sense for my parents' generation, right? Coming here, struggling, like they got to work hard to like provide for their family. But every generation is different, you know?
Yeah. Like they're not going to work hard for your son to be an iCloud rapper. So, yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's just in conclusion, like I think that's just like a great episode for you to talk about. It's like, recognizing what the societal norms are and determining like if it fits you. Like, do you need to go to college or do you want to go to college? Or are you doing it because you're being pressured to because that's what you were taught? You know what I mean? Or like, do you actually want a relationship, to be in a relationship, a monogamous relationship? Or is that just what your parents taught you that you're supposed to have, Because because anytime you break out of the societal norm, like if you're polyamorous or if you don't believe in marriage or if you don't want children, then you're kind of like the oddball and people get offended by your decisions. But, you know, you should do what's right for you.
Exactly. 100%. I think when you're a teen, that's when you start making your own decisions and
Mm-hmm.
questioning everything that you've been taught from 12 and under. And that's usually why teens have been pretty much, the most rebellious and the ones that question a lot about society and want to, maybe change it, want to be with it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the age when like you just want to do your own thing. Um, but I had a brain fart too.
COVID brain.
I think that's what it is. It's probably melting my brain. Um,
It's okay.
I know it's gonna pop back and like when I'm in a shower or something like that. So I'm gonna punch the air
Like
when I
an
figure
hour
out.
later.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel bad for teenagers in a way because like I've been through it obviously because you are still trying to figure yourself out and trying to figure out what your career is at 18.
I think there's a lot of options that we have. I remember my marketing teacher. He he showed us like a lot of like career, like we did like personality tests and career tests,
Mm-hmm.
and we went through sites and sites and webinars. And dude, like there's just like a lot of options, and it can be pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who you are, or you're not in tune with like what kind of things work well with you and what don't,
Mm-hmm.
that decision making is going to be a tornado. It's going to be very confusing.
Yeah.
And especially as a teen, when you're trying to figure out who you are and being provided those sources, I'm not saying that too many sources are bad for you, because they do help. But I'm saying that an overload of all of these majors and all of these careers, it can be confusing sometimes. It can either be really helpful or not helpful at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't really think, I mean, it's cool I remember taking those personality tests, but like it's kind of irrelevant because I mentioned this earlier. Like, I am not who I was when I was 17. You know, like when I was 17, I loved Hello Kitty and like sticker bombed like my laptop with Hello Kitty stuff, and like I'm not like that anymore. And you're not the same person. And from a scientific standpoint, you don't even fully develop your brain until your mid-20s. So you don't really know yourself until you get older, for one, and two, like experience things. So to like try to get a kid to figure out what they want to do for the rest of their lives by taking some personality test or looking at a list of different careers is not really the great way to go.
Yeah. I think knowing what you would be good at could help if you have like absolutely no idea what you want to do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want to say this because I know like other generations before me, like they weren't provided this, so I shouldn't really be like mad about this or ungrateful. But
Mm-hmm.
before they were just saying there was not that much, but now I'm saying that there's a lot to choose from. And my worst fear, I'm sure everyone else's worst fear, is to be so far into something you don't like and
Mm-hmm.
having to deal with that moment where you're just like, ugh, I should have done this.
Yeah, that's a lot of people's fears. Yeah, I don't know how to like combat that. You kind of just have to do things. You just have to do like internships or work at different places because you don't know what you don't know. All right, we're about to hit like our 1 hour mark. So before we end the podcast, though, I wanted to give you a chance to either plug something or if there's like some last minute things you want to share with the audience. I wanted to give you that time. So, is there anything you want to share, want to plug, anything like that?
Um, Try to put yourself out there. Um, a lot of things in this world are temporary, and know that you're going to be okay no matter what happens to you or no matter what you do. Um, so it's better knowing that you don't like something or knowing that this person isn't right for you rather than always having that wonder of what would it be like, because that wonder would definitely be much worse than knowing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I have to say.
Perfect. Well, thank you. I really appreciated this conversation. I think it was really fun to talk to someone younger. I'm not like surrounded by a lot of young people, so it was nice to have that perspective. And I am curious, like, what does the Gen Z person think? I know you don't represent all Gen Z people, but it was nice to have this conversation. And I appreciate your opinions and you sharing that because I know you were a little hesitant about sharing your opinions right now.
I'm grateful you had me on the show.
Thanks for making it to the end. If you enjoy what you hear and want to stay up to date on the show, please follow me on Facebook and or on Instagram. You can also check out my website at thetalkativeintrovertpodcast.com. All the information will be on there as well as in the show notes. If you want to help support the show, please review and rate the podcast and share it with your friends and family. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you guys in the next episode.